2024 is the year of anime, from one of the best intros ever released to some blockbuster-looking episodes. There is no doubt 2024 reigns supreme. With the competition at an all-time high, studios have been pumping out gold one after the other. Brace yourselves for a year filled with finesse and sublime artistry. Solo leveling, S tier. Starting off the list hot, we have solo leveling. And this, in my humble opinion, deserves an S rank. It's definitely up there with big names like Jujutsu Kaisen, One Punch Man, and My Hero Academia. Whilst it still has more to go before it competes with the likes of One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. That being said, this is a show you must watch if you haven't already. The adaptation is brilliant, to say the least, and the fluidity of the animation and choreography is outstanding. Each episode kept on packing a punch, and it was reveal after reveal, especially if this was your first time encountering this amazing piece of fiction and had no clue about the manga. The power system behind it was creative, and in a way, solo leveling is kinda like a reverse isekai, isn't it? And it's not just the power-ups and fights that make this show a must-watch, but the intricate dialogue and build-up is worth investing your time into it. You are taken along a journey, not only of redemption, but of personal and spiritual growth. Jin Woo is a prime example of how an anime protagonist should act in the face of overwhelming odds and adversity. Unlike meatheads like Goku and brain-dead MCs like Luffy, he is more cunning, sorta like if Light Yagami was given more abilities. Oh man, you'll love it. I don't want to reveal much without spoiling the show, but let me just say this. Given the level of artistry and sophistication, if solo leveling had a few more episodes, it would have certainly carried 2024, and hence, why it deserves a humble S. Wrong way to use healing magic, A tier. I know what you're thinking, but hear me out on this. This show deserves a solid A and nothing else, alongside shows like The Devil is a Part-Timer, Konosuba, even though some might argue it deserves an S, and others like Death Parade. Since Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic is an isekai done right, I've seen a couple of isekai that have been released during 2024, and while some show promise, the level of corniness doesn't completely vanish. Isekais that I consider as an S are shows like Overlord, Mushoku Tensei, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime. In relation to these, Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic might have what it takes to make the list, depending on how well Season 2 and 3 are executed. While it's a tad bit early to judge this anime, there are certain aspects which give it some element of comfort. Firstly, it's not always that we see healing magic being used in center stage. Healers are usually considered as helpers and are far from the limelight. Their potential has remained dormant for the longest, since most shows substitute their abilities via potions and occasional spells. When's the last time you saw a decent healer? Oriheim from Bleach? The priestess from Goblin Slayer? Oh wait, I completely forgot about Tsunade. Now that I think about it, Rose does have a lot of similarity to Tsunade, a hot-headed MILF who doesn't give two shits, but secretly cares about everyone. Don't let the first episode cliché fool you though. Aside of the usual New World intro, Ken's growth and training reminds me of Sage Mode Naruto. The overall animation is clean, and whilst the plot still has room to grow, we can rest assured rating this a solid A. The Apothecary Diaries, S tier. What a banger. I mean honestly, this show deserves a definite S. Is it good enough to be ranked as an S+ though? That's a debate for another day, since I don't believe it's as good as the likes of Death Note. In terms of mystery, romance, and spice of life, Apothecary Diaries nails it each and every time. I went in assuming it was a show about concubines and lustful activities, basically, a run-in-the-mill Aichi anime. But boy, was I mistaken. From the get-go, we're introduced to diverse cultures, colorful scenes, rich history of various kingdoms, complicated political instability, and the obvious tragedies of past crimes involving unfortunate kidnappings and shady deals. That's how Mao Mao ended up as a servant of the imperial court, bound to waster her potential with the scroom. However, one thing she possessed that no other servant had was wisdom, medicinal wisdom to be precise. Her dad used to be an apothecary, and she inherited his knowledge and used it to save one of the emperor's infant child. However, Since she was the only literate person, she was found and rewarded accordingly. As such, she began to serve the Royal Empire as an apothecary and a detective. Oh wait, let's also not forget her burning desire to test poisons, which led her to being the official food tester of the kingdom. Her quirky behavior and ingenious comments are powerful traits, and the entirety of the show is an addictive experience, to be honest. You can't help but stay glued to the screen as she goes about uncovering deep mysteries and unraveling the hidden truth lying behind the curtains of deceit. If Season 1 was this good, I can't imagine what Season 2 has in store for us. Either way, this deserves a wholehearted S in our spot, and a must-watch anime in 2024. Undead Unluck, S tier. Now this was a controversial pick. Many might disagree with me, but Undead Unluck deserves an S in my book. In terms of creativity, it's unmatched. I mean, we have seen a few blood-bending fanatics, like Unohana from Bleach, who was flawless to say the least, Choso from Jujutsu Kaisen. And while they are powerful, Undead has something unique about him that you can't help but admire. His enthusiasm is off the charts to begin with. He reminds me of the adult version of Deku, so full of life and vigor, along with Unluck, who is an adorable klutz. These duo could win Best Couple of the Year, in fact. Be that as it may, the reason Undead Unluck deserves a high spot on this list is due to the brilliant power system they introduced. The UN abilities, I call them. We're usually used to magic systems and grimoires, right? The unique power systems out there are stuff like devil fruits, bankai, domain expansion, you know, the stuff of legends. But this new power opens a whole other dimension of possibility, the ability of negation. So basically, Undead, for instance, negates the reality of death, making him immortal, or something basic like unmove. Doesn't take a genius to figure this out, but it's a pretty handy ability. Imagine how many variations you can whip out with these. I'd be undefeated, by the way. Just for this power system alone, I'd like to honor Undead Unluck an S+. To be honest, that's how much I admire their creativity. The fight scenes were fire, and the character development was spot on as well. I genuinely loved watching Solo Leveling and Undead Unluck. In terms of pure enjoyment, it was a 10/10 for me. So yeah, rating it an S on the list is an understatement. My instant death ability, C tier. Yeah, this anime is one of those corny isekais I was talking about earlier. Don't get me wrong, his power is OP, but it's still sloppy writing. Any bum writer can pick up a pen and give universal level powers to any character. However, it's all a matter of execution. Did this particular character earn it? What did they have to go through to gain this ability? More so, how well did you incorporate this ability into the show? And after factoring all of these, I'm sorry to say that my instant death ability failed to live up to the hype. Take Saitama, for instance. He is an exception from most shonen anime. Unlike Naruto, Luffy, Goku, Ichigo, and the like, he didn't gradually power up to this level. No, he was just OP from the get-go, and we accepted it since it was a parody done right. However, in the case of Yogiri, the writers didn't do him justice by bestowing the powers of the Angel of Death. Most, if not all of the fights were anticlimactic, and the story held no basis either. It was almost like they were trying to latch onto something, but kept on jumping from one idea to the other. Each character that tries to oppose the MC is discarded just by a thought, leaving no build-up, no catharsis, or pivotal point in the main storyline. The least they could have done is given us something as epic as Overlord, or at least add some conflict to the story like L did to Light Yagami. 'Cause this was a disaster. Almost like a self-insert character who didn't want any opposition in their dream world. That's what it seemed like to me. A personal dream, as opposed to a well-constructed show. In fact, I'm going to change my mind and give it a D for wasted potential. The Witch and the Beast, S tier. Oh my lord. What a masterpiece of an anime. Should we give this an S+? Should we? I am tempted to do so, but let's suffice with an S for the time being. The Witch and the Beast. Where do I even start with this show? The animation caught me completely off guard. It kinda reminded me of Bacano in a way. However, the show itself is a mixture of Castlevania, Hellsing Ultimate, and a hint of John Constantine. Vampires, ghouls, magic. I mean, what's not to like? You can tell how awesome the show was going to be from the first episode alone. The narration gave off Full Metal Alchemist vibes, whilst the explanations were profound. I won't spoil much, but there's this necromancy elaboration which genuinely opened my eyes. You can tell the writers knew what they were talking about and made some research beforehand. Even the dialogue was crisp, and the characters felt lifelike. You can sense their tragedies and hardships through their struggle and can't help but root for them. Not in a quirky, heroic way, rather, in a sensible, humanistic empathy. The power system was nothing special, but the execution was quite unique. It's not often that you see magic handled in such a delicate manner, since magic, by its nature, is precarious. Even so, The Witch and the Beast, my oh my, it certainly did not disappoint. I'd put it up there alongside Solo Leveling and Undead Unluck, since I enjoyed every minute of it and couldn't wait for each episode release. This is something I definitely recommend you watch. A solid S through and through. Ragna Crimson, S tier. Am I the only one who thinks this was also fire? I mean ice. If you know, you know. A definite S for me. But seriously, 2024 has had one of the best seasons for anime so far. Maybe it's the animation quality, the high budget production, or the crisp fight scenes, but something about this show is quite addicting. Ragna's sudden power up into an OP character is a tad bit unprecedented, but in a way it's justified. Unlike my instant death ability, the execution was spot on with this one. Plus, there was a reasonable justification and underlined story behind it. In a world filled with ferocious monsters and fierce dragon monarchs, who would have thought ice powers would come in handy? Soon enough, we'll start debating whether or not Ragna is better than Aokaiji or Esdeath. Some of the feats he has shown so far has certainly given him the bragging rights to do so. The entirety of the show was a wild roller coaster ride for me, from crushing over Crimson to craving Ultimatia. Each character had an impact to play and did their role with the utmost brilliance. The pacing, whilst it seemed rushed, was actually not that bad. They could have milked this story into a 50-plus episode series if they wanted to, but instead, they gave us an action-packed thriller filled with nasty plot twists and marvelous choreography. If you've seen Undead Unluck, I'm certain you'd love Ragna Crimson as well. It has to go up there, among the S family for me.
Shatter.
Wonderful Precure, D tier. I don't usually give anime shows a low rating since I am a die-hard fan. I know the amount and effort that goes into every production and try my best to support them however I can. But this, nah blood, this was trash. I've never encountered something as horrible as this in my life. This was straight up garbage, and nothing about it was the least bit amusing or entertaining. Don't believe me? Open up the first or second episode, try to bear through the horrible exposition and dialogue, then sit through this awful 30-plus second transformation they keep on spamming. Like, bro, what? How did Toei even fund this? Or did they lose all their budget to making One Piece? Either way, this anime doesn't even deserve a D. We're dropping it immediately. Buchijiri, A tier. Now this was an awesome anime. A well-deserved A. I would have given it a higher rating if it had a few more oomph to it. The fight scenes are the primary reason to watch this. It reminds me of the Baki days. Pure hands, if you know what I mean. Unlike Record of Ragnarok, it doesn't include any unusual powers, except for the MC who gets to cheat the rules by using a summoned genie. Yeah, I know. You were expecting an Aladdin-esque type of adventure upon hearing a genie, but no, this one is unique. The genie is from the Honky tribe who specialize in fighting. They live to battle and as such, strengthen the MC, Aragine, giving him supernatural abilities to fight the insanely overpowered gang leaders. In a way, this isn't a show about organized tournament fighting. It's more like a street brawl between mob bosses to determine who gets to run the show. And in the middle, we are treated to some bomb-ass fighting scenes, a cute girl with an unusual obsession, and ultimately, genies with a battle fixation. So yeah, an A on the list is well-deserved. I'm certain you'd enjoy it. Frieren, S+ tier. I'm sure you have all heard about frieren by now. The anime, which dethroned Full Metal Alchemist and had the anime community by the balls. We have to give this an S+. This, ladies and gentlemen, is peak fiction. Frieren did everything right. I mean, literally. The character development was on point. The flashbacks were subtle, yet deserved. The pacing was simply superb. The fight scenes were to die for. Who knew mages could be this powerful? The dialogue was intellectually brilliant. It had all the elements necessary to break records. Each introduction was thorough, letting us know that these weren't just add-ons. Rather, they were actual people with emotions and lives as complicated as everyone else. Each build-up was followed with an appropriate climax and resolution, leaving you inspired and relieved. For the first time, we saw how animes could succeed without relying heavily on fan service or high budgets. That being said, they went all out during production and held nothing back. The level of epicness they introduced was beyond words. It had us all crying and smiling, grieving and rejoicing. Oh, for God's sake, please go watch it. Give credit to where it is due. Trust the list. This show is definitely an S+. What do you think of our selection so far? Are you loving our suggestions? Please let us know in the comments if you want a part 2, since we have a lot more animes left to talk about. 2024 is just getting started.